Hello, everyone. How are you today, everybody? Can you ladies hear me? Excellent, excellent. That's what I want to know. Make sure that you do hear me. And one more thing. Okay. So what we're going to do while we're still gathering, I'm just going to go live on Facebook. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Leah, how's it going with you? I know you're studying the basics now.
It's going well. I'm ending my day and starting my day drawing.
That's a wonderful, let me tell you from experience, that sounds wonderful to me.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. I mean, I'm an abstract artist by, I just self-taught, so anyway, it's just another outlet of art.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I agree with you. It's quite amazing. And it's, I like the fact that it goes much more than art, that it goes beyond art, You can actually, set goals and do stuff. And it's, an actual method that has been scientifically proven to help, I just want to make sure. Hi, Miriam. How are you?
Hi, good. Came to say hello. I don't know how long I'm going to stay.
Okay. So nice to see you in person, though.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. Hi, Leah.
I'm just going to go live on Facebook and then we're going to start.
Are you recording this, Lana?
Yes, I am recording it.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I usually record all my sessions. Well, you know why? Because you see, you watch the sessions. And this one we're actually going to go live on Facebook as well. So if you have some privacy, you're welcome. But you can stay. Okay, not a problem, Sheila. I got it. I completely respect everybody's wish, it's not a requirement for you ladies to be here live. Okay. I'm just here. Just gonna go live and then we're going to start. How are you this morning? I realized, Leah, for you, it's really early morning. Okay. Okay, good. Sheila, where are you? Tell me, just write to me. I'm just trying to understand. Are you in the EST or in a different time zone? Ontario. Oh, okay. Okay, you're in Canada. Okay, I said you're in US. Excellent. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the wonderful session we're going to have today. We are going to do actually introduction to two courses that I'm introducing this week and starting next week. One course will be the NeuroSefirot, which is a deeper understanding and knowledge of the Sphero, the Kabbalistic emanations, the Kabbalistic structure of the world, how the world was built. And another course that we are starting is the NeuroTree course. It will be a series of 10 trees. Starting today will be the first one. And I thought that would be a great idea to combine the both of them, right? Because the NeuroSefirot starts with the tree of life, right? The 10 Sphirot are often shown as in a form of a tree. So I thought it would be great to start both courses with a NeuroTree. What a wonderful algorithm. It's a growth algorithm. And of course, one of the best parts about this study of Spheroid is that we're going to combine it with the method of Neurographica, right? A wonderful, beautiful method that has been it's not just beautiful art, but it's also a wonderful coaching method that has been actually proven scientifically at this point that it does help the brain to regenerate some neurocells, and it does help a person to, decrease the emotional stress and increase getting to certain goals and setting goals and all the wonderful, coaching, so to say, side effects that we can get. So I am going to tell you a bit, and we are going to start drawing. Ladies, we don't stall long. I like to start drawing right away because, we always have a certain amount of time, and I want to make sure I give you as much as possible within that amount of time, because the topic of the NeuroSefirot is so, so vast. There's so much to say. And I was looking through it yesterday and trying to think, what do I say within this period of time? Because people study, the topic of Sphero countlessly. You can write dissertations on this topic. So I want to make sure that you have it. 1 second. Somebody's asking me for the link. I'm just going to send it to her. Did you find it? Excellent. Okay, good. So I'm going to do some, excellent, there is Frauke, excellent. I'm going to share my content with you now. Hi Frauke, how are you? Welcome. Welcome, we're glad to see you here. So I am sharing my screen. Hi Frauke. Okay, so I want to show you. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you here.
Fine, thank you. Sorry for being late.
That's okay. You're good. You're not late. We just started. I was just saying that we're starting the presentation. Can everybody see my share screen? Are you able to see it? Excellent. So the NeuroSefirot, okay? So let's talk. I actually started this project as part of Orva Emanut group. It's a group that I created with a colleague of mine, and we combine Jewish philosophy and Jewish wisdom with the method of Neurographica. And also, as we mentioned before, this class today is also the intro to the NeuroTree course, okay? Because we're combining both wonderful methods here, okay? So I will tell you a bit more about the courses later. Actually, about the NeuroTree course, I'm going to tell you right now that it will be a course of 10 NeuroTrees, okay? And each NeuroTree will be taught once a week, okay? Every Tuesday. I believe the NeuroTree course is from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, EST. And every week I will introduce you to the new NeuroTree, okay? Like today, we're going to do the NeuroTree of life. And there is 9 more. There is, I'm going to tell you, we're going to have a financial NeuroTree. We're going to have the NeuroTree with the energy centers. We're going to have the NeuroTree of Ho'oponopono, NeuroTree of the pyramids, going up and going down. There will be the family kin, the ancestry NeuroTree, where we'll explore what our ancestry is and then go forward and bring in resources. And there will be a health and fitness NeuroTree. So I will be teaching it to you. I will be explaining to you in every session the algorithm, how to draw. And at the end of the 10 sessions, we will have an additional module that will be a 3-hour class where I will explain to people who are interested how to teach it to others. Because a lot of you who are specialists might be interested in expanding your specialist practice, because as a specialist, you can only teach 3 algorithms to the group or individuals, which is, the NeuroTree is one of them, that there is NeuroLotus and NeuroRain. So as a result, I figured, why not expand on it? There's so many, algorithms you can do. And actually the teaching module, I will also explain to you how you can create your own algorithm of the NeuroTree. I will explain to you kind of the logic, I'll give you the algorithm of creation, so to say. And I think it would be a great addition to those of you who do either are a specialist already in Neurographica or want to become one and would love to practice this further with your clients, with your, with your group of students, okay? So that's something to think about. Any questions, you're welcome to PM me. If you have any questions now, you're welcome to write or to open up your microphone and ask me about the NeuroTree course. The NeuroSefirot course, I will tell you later the details, because right now we're going to start to draw the actual NeuroTree, the tree of life. And then later on, I will give you details. What are we doing for the next 10 sessions, okay? Okay, so the idea is I'm going to transfer my camera. If everybody is okay, 1 second. Just gonna put something here. Just give me a minute, ladies. Just trying to figure this out. 1 second. Just want to see how yes, I just want to be able to see the Facebook page, just in case people are asking me questions there. Give me a second. I will just transfer that here. And actually, no, we're going to start here. Okay. Okay. So if, let me see. Yeah, I don't think I have any questions. Somebody wrote something. Let me see. No. Okay. Good. We're good. Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit, and we're going to start drawing because this is very relevant. We'll actually start going into the wonderful world of the Kabbalistic creation, of the Kabbalistic understanding of what's going on with the world. Where are we? What are we doing? Okay. I originally got this idea when I was listening, when I started to study Neurographic in 2018. I right away was amazed at the depth of the method. And then something was telling me, something was clicking inside my mind that, this is relevant to something else that I know. And at one point, and it even became the topic of my dissertation when I graduated, became the instructor in Neurographica, I actually wrote a whole, a whole essay, so to say, more than an essay, about the similarities between the Neurographic method and the Kabbalistic approach to the creation of the world, the creation, the structure of the world, right? And here is what I'm going to transfer it to my paper, because I do want to show you the origins of how this started. So there will be a little magic now. Now you see me, now you don't. Can everybody see my hands for now? We will have more magic as my paper will appear as well. Voila. There is the magic of Neurographic. I told you it's a magical method. Okay, I'm going to make it darker so you will see all the colors I put in. Okay. So it's interesting to note. It's interesting to note that, the very first thing we study in Neurographica, I think from what I know, all of you ladies are familiar with the Neurographic method. So that's good. Okay, yeah, you are. So I'm going to start without talking much about what Neurographic is. I will just start going into the method, okay? The method of Neurographic, as we all know, always starts with one major aspect, right? Which is the neural line, right? We start the neural line, and there's always saying that we start the neural line at one end of the paper, right? And we always take it. That's what happens with markers, right? You ladies know that, right? Marcus is number one thing that we have going in Neurographic. Okay, we start with a neural line and we take it to the next area, and we always finish on the other end, right? Because the idea is that this line is everlasting, right? It just begins somewhere and ends somewhere. In the paper, we just consider the paper to be a piece of our neurographic life, right? A neurographic drawing. So we always start the line on one side and finish on the other. If you go to the Kabbalistic Study, just to give you a background before we do even the Sphero. If you go to the Kabbalistic studies, it says originally, right? And see if you see more similarities with the Neurographic method, right? It said that first the world was just a vast of nothingness, but within that nothingness there was an imminent light. It's called Or Ein Sof, which translates from Hebrew as light that is infinite. Okay, so Or Ein Sof was all around the world. Okay, and if you take this away and you imagine this is the world that's vast, there is nothing created there yet. Okay, and then something happened. Okay, and that something is what we're going to discuss in details today. Okay, we'll dwell within that something that starts everything in your life. Okay, that something started the world, the creation of the world. Okay, God. In this course, I will be referring to God, as the source, as the creator. If some people, I know some people may have some issues with it, may not. Just so you're aware, in this course, I will be. You can use your own allegory. You can say the source. You can say the universe. Whatever you're comfortable. Within the Kabbalistic studies, we usually do refer to the, religious way of viewing the creation of the world, which is the God, G-O-D, has created the world. Okay. Just wanted to give that little disclaimer. So at one point, God has decided, not just decided, has desired, please pay attention to that word, has desired to create the world. And it explains later on in the Bible, in the Torah, in the Jewish Bible, that created the world for people to enjoy, for people to live in that world, okay? So that desire came, and the way it started to emanate, the way it started to actually happen within the world is that we have a dot, okay? There's a dot here. It started all with a dot. And then from that dot, it's interesting, right? God put his kind of presence within the world. And from that dot, the presence, the Or Ein Sof, the light that is completely infinite, the source of all the energy, of all the light, of all the life, started to expand. And it's interesting that it explains in Kabbalah that it started to expand in all directions at the same, within the same length, okay? So let's say over here and over here, all the same length, right? I should really be drawing this with a circular, right? To make it correct, to make it more mathematical, because, any mathematician would see me and say, what are you doing? This is not the correct way to do. But we know in Neurographica, we're more like somebody mentioned today, right? More abstract, right? But let's say for the sake of it, right? If I measure 1 in all directions, I just took the neurostructuring course, which actually talked about combining Neurographica with, the correct measurement, okay? Only this happened in all directions like this, okay? At the same time, the light started expanding. And if we look at it differently, now I'm going to change. Okay, if we look at it differently, this is what I'm going to do. Okay, so you wait these now. Right? Once we have the light, it started expanding. And as a result, if the light starts expanding within the same measurement, right? The same length all around, what would it create, right? Those of you who know what I'm talking about, I went the wrong way. Okay, let's do this here. I wanted you to be as proper as possible, okay? If we go the same length, what would happen? We would create what? A perfect circle. Those of you who have been studying Neurographica, we know that circle is one of the main aspects, one of the main shapes within Neurographica, okay? So the world was actually created within the circle shape, okay? That's why circle is so, 1 second, let me send the person a Zoom. Okay. Circle is, it's so interesting to note how there are so many similarities, right? So the circle is actually a very very important shape, the idea of the circle, the philosophical idea of the circle, the psychological, right? No beginning, no ending, right? The fact that it's a reference to the, and even within Kabbalistic studies, it is actually completely directly relevant to the creation of the world. The way that the Almighty, the Creator, God created the world was within the circle. Why? Because everything is the same. Everyone are, kind of equal. I'm not going into politics here or socialism. That's not my point. The point is that, people are created equal. Everybody get, the same same choices, right? That's a very philosophical discussion, right? The freedom of choice, understanding how life works, right? We have different circumstances, but we all can strive for this, right? And that's the important part. 1 second. Okay. And so another thing I wanted to bring in, another idea, Kabbalistic idea, was the idea, welcome Yonit, was the idea that there is a light, and that will be actually quite relevant to our discussion of the Sphero today. But it says that the way that the Almighty, the Creator, hi Yonit, welcome, has entered, brought the presence, right? There is a world, and we know that any creation, any project, let's talk coaching techniques, right? We're starting a project. What do we do first? We give it a business plan. We need to give it structure, right? So God was seeking to bring in structure within the world. And it says the way it was doing it was by a direct light. This is very important, right? There is the direct light, the creation of the light, right? That God has entered the line and direct light to this connection to this dot. Remember the dot that the world was created from, right? And it's interesting to know that all around this circle, right, which we can refer to now, as we know within the physical emanation, right, within the physics, astronomy, right, is the planet Earth, right? This is our planet Earth, right? We can also refer to it as the whole creation, right? As the whole universe, right? With all of the 9, actually now the scientists are arguing whether it's 9 or 8 planets, right? And by the way, that also has a complete direct relevance to the whole concept of Kabbalistic ideas of the creation of the world. All of the 9, planets, or 8 planets, I should say, 8 planets have a relevance within the Kabbalistic explanation of how they refer to, because there is one of the explanation that was given was that God has created different worlds before God created this specific world that we live in now, right? And that's like concurrent with the, whole scientific discovery of all the other planets within the universe, but only this planet has the life, okay? This is a very, I would tell you, very quick and very general introduction to the Kabbalistic idea of the creation of the world, okay? And now I would like to invite you, we're going to draw, not the tree yet, the second introduction. Before we get to the tree, before we get to the explanation of the Sphero, we need to be able to understand what are the Sphero and how are they relevant? Why are they considered to be the structure of the world? It's, any Kabbalistic, any person, that studies Kabbalistic ideas and the idea of Sphero, the structure of Sphero, will tell you the Sphero are like a structure. You can find it within any creation in the world. Any project can be explained through the structure of Sphero. It's the beginning and the end, the stage first and then the stage 10, okay? Before we go into the study of Kabbalistic, of the Sphero, of 10 Sphero, I want to bring you to the idea, and I think most of you are familiar with it, in a different maybe terms, right, in different studies, but I want to bring you to the idea of the 4 worlds. You all probably, most of you have heard of the 4 worlds, in different teachings, in different integrative teachings all over the world, right? I want to bring it to you from the Kabbalistic perspective, okay? So for that, I would like to bring you to just draw 4 circles. And they're like a snowman sitting on top of each other, right? Usually the snowman is 3 circles, but I'm inviting you to draw the 4 circles. okay? In order for you to understand better, just to get an idea of what's happening and how the Sphirot connect us to different ideas, to different understandings of how we see. Okay, I'm just going to introduce to you something by the slides. Okay, can everybody see my slide? Can you see my share screen? Excellent. Okay. You ladies can see the Sphirot, which we will draw later on. We will not just draw the Sphirot, we will integrate it within the NeuroTree. But I want to introduce you here to the 4 circles, exactly as we drew it, okay? Don't add the smaller circle yet. Don't add the Sphirot circle. Okay, again, pay attention to the circles here, okay? Circle is a very integral shape within the Sphirot, within the Kabbalistic ideas, okay? The circle is very important. It's interesting to know that the Sphirot is expressed within the circle shape. The 4 world is expressed within the circle shape. So it's interesting to see the similarities and the understanding how the circle is a source of comfort, care, and that's what it is, right? Because it's given to us by God, by the Almighty, and we look at it as something that we can rely on. It's something that we can look into and find resources, right? That important word within the coaching world, resource, right? We look within the Sphirot as a circular shape to find what we're looking for, guidance, okay? Now, look at the 4 worlds. It's written in Hebrew. I couldn't find a better image, so I will translate this to you, okay? I will translate this to you now, ladies. So we will look at this part of the Sphirot and its connection to the world later on. For now, let's write the names of the worlds, and I will give you explanation what they are, okay? And I'm thinking, what do you think? Should we start on the very top or should we start on the very bottom? It's interesting that there are 2 ways to go, right? You can start on the bottom, right? Start from the physical world, from familiar world that you see around us, and go up. And some people look at the world and they start on the top. Some people are highly spiritual. They start this world within, their understanding of the world as a spiritual entity, right? We know people like that. Those are the people who are, they would rather meditate and they would rather, pray and be in solitude rather than go in the world and, and do some, engage in some physical activities, right? But our job in this world as a human being to actually learn how to combine both the top part and the bottom part, okay? And I'm going with my intuition, as you will see, a lot of things we do is intuitive. It's very important to learn to listen to your body, right? And it tells me, my body's telling me, let's start at the bottom. Let's start with what's familiar to all of us, right? The world around us, what we see. This is the physical world around us. Ladies, please do me a favor, write to me your questions if you have any. You can open your microphone if at any point you feel like you're missing some that happens, like you're missing an integral information and you cannot go on before you hear that explanation. Please let me know, okay? I tend to go on because I feel like I want to make sure I give you as much as possible within this time allotted for this lesson. So do feel free to let me know if you have any questions, okay? Any understanding you're seeking. This is the physical world. In Hebrew, we call this Asiya, okay? Asiya. Okay, it comes from the word, from the Hebrew language. It's actually based on the roots, grammatical roots of the language. If you learn the grammatical roots of the language, which I know like some of it, not all of it, of course, but I can understand more or less a lot of words, okay? Because the roots is what makes sense, okay? So the root of the word Asiya, okay? I'm gonna write it here in Hebrew just for you to be familiar. And by the way, it is a Kabbalistic idea. And I will make another course about it, about the Hebrew letters, which were the way God created the world, are being very spiritual connections. People looking at the spirit Hebrew letters will allow you to connect to the source of light, the source of energy. So that's important to know, okay? So it comes from the word oseh. Oseh means to do. Okay, the actual action of doing something, okay? This is the physical world, right? We don't just like, think about stuff. The physical world is engaged in 5 senses. We sense things around us. We do things around us, right? We engage in physical, actions, right? If you need to drink, you get up and you get water and you drink. If you don't drink water when you're thirsty, you will just stay thirsty, okay? Yes, you may change your mental idea of being thirsty, but the point is your body will not get that water, okay? That's important to understand. That's a physical world, okay? The next world we have is a emotional world, okay? Emotional world, okay? That's called Yetzirah, okay? Yetzirah, okay? The Yetzirah is a mental world. Actually, interesting. Yeah, that's what I kept thinking. There are some some people say that the emotional world comes before mental, and some people, in this explanation that I have here, it says that the mental world comes here, okay? So, no, I still think this is an emotional world, okay? I'm going to take you with this explanation if it's okay with you, ladies, because the emotional world is, if you put your hand next to your other hand, you don't touch yourself, but you already feel, right? That's your aura, right? In many studies, that's called aura, A-U-R-A. By the way, that comes from a Hebrew word or, which is light, right? And that's what it is, right? If you can feel something even without something touching your skin, right? That's this feeling, this extra layer of like skin perception that we have around our physical body, right? We have the physical body. Now we have the emotional world, right? Feeling the way we react to the outside world, Yetzirah, okay? And the Hebrew letters, as we mentioned, let's write the Hebrew letters so you can get some Kedusha. Kedusha means holiness, connection to the source of light, okay? The next world is called Bria, okay? Bria, okay? That's a mental world, I would say. That's our mind, right? This is how we, think about something, any logic, right? If I touch the marker, that's a physical level. The way I feel about the marker, right? The marker is hard, the marker is soft, the marker gives me, a pleasant association because the marker means that I'm going to draw something, right? That's the emotional world. But if I start thinking, what is the marker? What is the purpose of the marker? That's the mental world, the logic that we always look for, right? Especially within the Western civilization, logic is a pinpoint of a human life, right? We cannot live without having a logical explanation of anything we see or we experience in this world. And the very top will be the spiritual world, okay? Spiritual world. In Hebrew, it is called Atzilut, okay? Atzilut, okay? Atzilut, okay? So Atzilut is a spiritual world, right? Something that we cannot possibly see, something that, and that's interesting to know, we will have a hard time understanding if we start thinking about it. There is no logical explanation, or there is no, you cannot prove to anybody that logically anything exists, that there is a spiritual world, that there are, let's say angels, or there's God, right? But it definitely is something, and this is interesting to note, we cannot explain it logically, but we can definitely feel it, right? Because within the human body, and that's also a Kabbalistic idea, we have something that we refer to as soul, right? The soul is something, Kabbalistically we learn that the body, is created by God, and then it cannot be alive until God puts the soul into that body, right? And that's a Kabbalistic understanding of something called the vessel and the light, okay? the vessel is just a vessel. It has no meaning. Your cup in your kitchen has no meaning to it unless you put water or tea, pour water or tea into it and start using it for drinking. That's a very important idea to understand, okay? As much as we're found, as much as we love the spiritual world and we love their thinking, you know, the philosophical, which is what we're doing here, right? We're learning something new knowledge. We love the emotional world, right? We love feeling excited. We love, you know, loving somebody, expressing our love for our children, let's say, for our family, right? The physical world is very important. That's what we want to stress out in the Kabbalistic term. And that's what will bring us to the next level. The idea of the structure of the world in order to get what you need in the world, in order to get what you want. And the world I will bring in again will be desire, okay? We will focus on it very, very soon. I'm gonna share something else with you, just so you understand. Wait. Okay. This is the idea of the Sphero. Just so you understand, the way it works is that each of the 4 worlds that we just mentioned has the structure of Sphero within it, okay? I will be explaining this further in details, but just so you understand, each structure has a Sphero and they build upon each other, okay? Here, okay? It's, as we talk about the Sphero here, I wrote the explanation, okay? On each level of each world, the word Sphero, the Hebrew word Sphero, which means actually emanations, but like I mentioned, remember I said the Hebrew alphabet, the Hebrew language is consisted of roots, okay? The actual roots, okay? And if you take that root, you can make many different words with it, okay? So the word Sphero, which has 3 letters, okay? 3 major letters, which is Samach, okay, Resh, okay? Any person, if you ask them what does this 3 letters mean, they will say it means a book, because that's the most, you know, widespread understanding of the word Sipur or Sefer, okay? So in the highest world, the spiritual world, the word Sphera is explained as deriving from the word sapphire, a diamond or a sapphire in Hebrew, right? As you can understand the relevance here, because the highest world is where we'll have the most amount of light. And when we say the light, we say the source of energy, the source of light, the source of spiritual connection to the Almighty, to God, where you actually get all your energy to continue doing what you need to do in life, to continue living, right? And that's interesting to know that that's what it is. On the upper level, the world Sphera is sapphire, a diamond, a source of light, right? What is a diamond? It's this tiny physical like symbol of what we see, something so beautiful, and it's sparkly, right? And it gives you so much, I mean, and when I say you, I do mean ladies most of all, it gives you so much, you know, joy. It's interesting, men don't fully understand it, but when ladies get jewelry, like especially with diamond, because it connects them to that hidden light that's on a very top, right? We don't see it in the world so much, but it's in the very top. And that little diamond on your finger, let's say, is what connects you to the source of light of the Almighty, right? That huge, humongous, the source where you get all of your energy. The next world, the mental world, the world of Bria, okay? The world Sephira is explained as Sipur, the story, right? And that's a very mental level, right? Like my daughter, one of my daughters, she loves to listen to stories when she goes to sleep. It's so important for her to be mentally engaged, you know, in this world of stories, in the world of fantasy, imaging, you know, that's a very mental world. Sipur, the study storytelling, right? We know that's a very important aspect in many people's life, right? Storytelling is a major way to connect to the Almighty, to connect to the different world, right? To connect to something that we don't see in our world yet, but we are imagining it, we're fantasizing about it, okay? The next world, the world of Yetzirah, is the world of the emotional world, okay? The word Sephira comes from the word Sphor, which means boundary or border. And those of you who are coaches, and remember I said this is also a coaching aspect, we all know how it is important for any human being to learn to build their boundaries, right? We work on building boundaries with each other. We want to make sure that we're happy and we exert our happiness, but we also, kind of, first of all, respect other people's boundaries, and then allow other people to respect our boundaries. Within the emotional world, right? It's very important to learn how to build your own boundaries so that other energies or other emotions don't influence you, right? There are a lot of people, I know a lot of people who are very emotional, right? We call them empath. People who are very empathic are people who allow other people's emotion to enter their world. And for them, it's very important to understand that this is the level that they need to work on. They need to work on their boundaries, building their boundaries, Okay. And, oh, my mouse got stuck. That happens. And the third world, the world of Asiya, the physical world, what we see, where we live, where we are right now. We're looking at the physical entity, the computer in front of me, right? I am writing with a physical entity. I'm drawing with a marker, with a pen, right? I'm writing something. And it comes, the Sefirah is referred to as mispar, meaning numbers. And this is very physical. What is numbers? Numbers is a physical entity. Any mathematician will tell you. By the way, people I studied with different rabbis, some of them were mathematicians in the previous, kind of in their past life, so to say. And the way they explain Kabbalistic ideas is very interesting because they bring a lot of logic, a lot of reasoning. Math is a very, very, what do you call it, specific. It's very, what's the word? It's very exact. It's a very exact science. 2 + 2 is always 4. Okay. No matter what the wife might tell the husband, 2 + 2 is always 4. It's not 5, it's not 3. Okay. It's always 4. Math is math. And this is the physical world around us. And we know that, right? The physical world has limitations to it, right? I cannot, if I put my hand on the table, it will stay on the table. It will not fall through because the table is very solid. If I put my hand on the pillow, it will fall through because the pillow is a soft entity, right? If anybody here studied or knows about physics, right? The molecules, the way the molecules work, the way that any physical object is created is actually, if you ask any physicist, they will explain it to you. It's fascinating, right? That each item, each object in this world is created from molecules, and those are created for, from further, those subatomic particles, if you know about the neurons and, and protons, right? I actually studied a bit, as part of the integrative practices learning, I think, Joe Dispenza talks about it when he talks about, the way the human mind works. Quantum physics, it's actually called. If you want to look for fun physics, you go to quantum physics. It explains to you that the way that something is, let's say, solid and something is soft, the solid item will have more neurons that's running all around within the atom. It's fascinating to learn this. But that's what we need to keep in mind. The physical world is a limitations world. We are limited to what we can do. We're limited to how we can walk around, right? Not even talking about the pandemic. But even if we want to, we cannot right away get up, unless you're in the Harry Potter world. You cannot just get up and the next minute, if I'm in New York, I cannot be next minute in Germany or in Moscow, right? Or in Paris, as much as I would want to. That's not how it works, okay? The physical world is a world of limitation. It has actual, like I said, limitations and actual ways of working within that world. And what is the whole purpose of a human being? The whole purpose of a human being is to learn how to live within that world, how to create within that world. And this is what we can do. We can connect the Neurographica here, over here. I'm going to do, and what we're going to do is within this world, and we can do the neural line. We try to connect the physical world, go through all the other worlds, and connect to the spiritual, right? And it's also the human soul. Remember we talked about the vessel and the light? The vessel is our body, and the light that's within that vessel that allows that vessel to not just be a cup that's, philosophically just an idea that's in my kitchen, but actually be a physical entity, have a logic and the purpose. There is a word to it, purpose to it, okay? Here, I'm going to bring the idea of the spiritual world being a part of my physical world, okay? And that's what the human being does their whole life, okay? We come to this world as children, as babies, and we start learning around and we start looking around and understanding that the physical world around us has certain laws and certain rules, right? It has laws when it comes to physical items, right? I cannot jump on the table, it may break. And it has rules when it comes to human interaction. I cannot hit another person, it hurts them. Not just because it's not allowed, that's important too, but also an understanding that it hurts another human being because they also have that light that we do. They have a soul, I have a soul. We need to respect each other's soul within each other's body, okay? And that's the whole Kabbalistic understanding of the world in general, okay? The world in general. Now, remember how I said, now what I just explained to you, how Sphirot has different explanation and different understanding within each world. So I want to explain to you that that's the reason why each single, and now it will make more sense to you, on each level, we have a system of Sphirot, okay? Again, try to look at it philosophically, not just a physical entity, which means like this is not a physical fully understanding of the world, okay? Because each world has a system of Sphirot within them, okay? And also it's important to understand, and that we will dwell on now, each system of Sphirot has the 4 worlds within them, okay? I know you might be confused a bit, but I promise you, I am planning to clear that up with you, okay? Okay, just did a quick rounding. Please make sure if you do add neural lines to everything, go through the rounding. You need, I don't know if you're aware, or do you have any background, do you have any understanding or knowledge of the Neurographic method?
Yes, I do.
Oh, excellent, great. That's what I want to make sure. Excellent, great. So that's what it is, okay? Make sure you go through the intersections and round everything off, because what we're doing now, we're bringing our knowledge, but we're doing it in a different way, right? It's not just taking notes, and it's also drawing the world as we see it, the world as it emanates, as it kind of actualizes within us. So when we do that, we want to make sure that we round all of the intersections so everything is running nice and smoothly and harmoniously, right? That's the reason for the rounding within us. Okay. Now, let me show you the next step, and we will actually get to make, remember this is what I told you about. Can you see my share screen? This is what I told you about how each world, right, the Atzilut, the Bria, the Yetzirah, and Asiyah, has all of the 7 Sphirot within them, okay? They kind of built upon each other. As you will be learning each Sphira with me every week, you will understand the logic within it. And basically they're connected to each other, okay? The top Sphira is kind of brings life to the bottom Sphirot, okay? I'm gonna go further and we're actually gonna work. This is the structure of the Sphirot, as you can see in relevance to the human body, okay? The Sphirot, and I personally know people who use the Sphirot system for healing purposes, okay? For body healing purposes, okay? Okay, that's one way you can see it. Another way is this way, okay? 2 ways to see it. I think this might be more clear, but you can see the idea, and that's what we're going to work on now. Even as we talk about the 4 worlds, right? The top world is the spiritual world. It actually is supposed to be even higher than somebody's head, right? And then we have, right, the Keter is the highest, the spiritual world. The Chokhmah Bina Da'at, okay, is the top world, the world of Atzilut, the spiritual world, right? And then some people say it's actually it's a mental world also referred to. Okay, and then we have the physical, those Sphirot, and I will talk about it in details now. We have those Sphirot that are more related to the physical body, right? We all know that the head is always about the mental and the spiritual, and these are the body, right? This is how we engage within the physical world, right? We do stuff with our hands. In this case, we draw Neurographica. We go places with our feet, right? And our major organs are located within each Sphira. Okay, so in this case, the middle three Sphirot, Givura, Tiferet, and Chesed, are the Sphirot that are referred to the emotional aspect, the emotional world. And Od, Yisod, Netzach is the one that's referred to the physical world. And Malchut, which means kingdom, is the major goal, right? The major point of the whole physical existence. Like I said, I will explain everything in details, okay? This is the system of Sphirot, as most of you might have seen, the actual structure, the actual, like you can actually take a ruler and build with it because you want to make sure if you want to build an actual structural idea of the Sphirot. What I would like to offer for you now, here's another structure. I would like to offer for you let's draw the NeuroTree, which is why we gathered here in the first place, okay? And the NeuroTree, what I would like for you to relate to you first, let's do the structure first, and then we will give it the structure of the tree, okay? Okay, this is the 10 Sphirot, we will discuss it. I would say look at this as more, as a major part of what we need to do, okay? Let's try to emulate this. Let's try to repeat this, draw the same thing on your paper. Now, remember, those of you who are familiar with the NeuroTree, we know that there is a structure to the NeuroTree, right? What is the difference between the regular tree and the NeuroTree? Within the NeuroTree, it's interesting to note, by the way, that the NeuroTree, the idea that Pavel based the NeuroTree on, does come from the idea of the tree of life. Just want to give you that idea, that it's very much a philosophical idea of the tree of life, that the tree has three components to it. One component, in this case, in today's session specifically, I would like, usually I say, divide your paper within three. I would even say, take a pencil. I always suggest it to all of my students, right, when we do the specialist course. By the way, the specialist course, some of you here are specialists already, some of you are not. I'm inviting you to take the specialist course because this is the course where you learn how to draw the NeuroTree, and you learn all of the philosophical understanding of what the NeuroTree is. And the best part, you can start teaching it after you finish the specialist course. You teach it to others. So you kind of teach others the Neurographic method and the NeuroTree, which is an amazing algorithm. So usually I tell people, divide your paper into three parts, right? But today I'm going to say, take the bottom part, make it a bit less, okay? Because we're going to concentrate on the top part more, but do leave the bottom. Give like 1/4 of the paper, make like a pencil line, just so you get a visual idea. You see, you can't even see it on the camera, but I just made a very light line with my pencil. And then on top, you can kind of divide it in half. So you kind of understand where your tree trunk will go and where your branches will go, okay? Again, I want to show you what, okay, I want to show you the idea. This is the idea of the tree that we're going to draw. Notice one important thing. We have no roots in this picture. In our picture, which is why I told you leave the 1/4 of a page on the bottom open. Leave it because we will bring in some roots in here, okay? But for now, I want you to focus on the structure, okay? Let's draw the structure. If you're like me, if you want to be a perfectionist, you can try using your pencil first, and then you will bring. Okay, the structure of the Sphirot consists of 10 10, I'm going to go back and forth between 2 pictures, okay? 10 circles, okay? Just make 10 circles in the similar shape, in the similar, what do you call it? In the similar structure, in the similar placement as you see in the picture. Everybody can see the picture, right? Everybody's clear with the picture? Just let me see something. I doubt it, but let me just check just in case if anybody has any question. 1 second. Okay, give me a minute, ladies. I'm just going to transfer that here so I can see if anybody's asking me any questions on Facebook. Okay, now you can see, right? You can see the share screen back. Okay.
Lana, when we draw the 10 circles, are we going to draw the lowest one in the root section in the lower quarter, or are we
No,
drawing everything
the
above?
roots.
Okay.
Yeah, not the roots, exactly
okay.
how it's in the picture. We will
Okay.
draw the roots for us so that
Okay.
it, you know, it is a NeuroTree, and I will explain what we're going to do with the roots. As usual, we'll bring in some resources, but it's important to note, and that's very Kabbalistic, that the 10 circles, the structure of the circles does go on the part of the tree that is visible, because we're making it into the physical world, okay? The roots is a different entity. Okay, we're good. Okay, so you can actually even do that with your exactly what you see in the picture. You can do that with your pencil. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw maybe, make the outline of the tree. Okay. And remember, pay attention to that very top light. Do you see the light? Do you see the very light on the top, like the sun? That's the Keter. That's a Keter Sphero, okay? That's important to bring in. That's going to be the very major Sphero. That's a very top Sphero. As you draw it, I'm actually going to tell you a bit about it, because this is what we're discussing. This is the Sphero we're learning today. It's called Keter. Keter is a very interesting. Keter is what starts it all. Pay attention to how it's exactly shown in here. The circle of the Keter is bigger than all the other circles. That's important to note. Why? Because the circle of the Keter is, Keter means desire. Keter means crown. The actual translation of the word Keter means crown. Okay, the crown that the kings wear, right? So the idea over here that all of us have a crown on our head. We all have a certain connection, right? Keter is a connection to the Almighty, to the spiritual world. It's what starts the spiritual world, okay? And I'll let you draw. I'm going to draw a little bit and then I will explain more, because I realize when I explain, I don't draw because I want to concentrate here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 circles on each side, right and left. And then we have 1 bigger circle on the very top. Between the neck, this is important to pay attention, okay? You see the top 2 circles over here? Yeah, let me show you here. Keter is on very top. Then we have 1, 2, nothing in the middle. That's important to note, okay? I will explain later why. Then we have 3, 4, right? With Keter, it's 5. Then we have 1 in the middle. Then we have over here 2 and 1 in the middle, and 1 again in the middle here, okay? Pay attention to this structure. It's very relevant. It says in the Kabbalistic studies that the Sphero structure is consisted of 10 Sphero. It's very important to note. It has to be number 10. It cannot be 11 and it cannot be 9. And I want to tell you something. Some Sphero structures, if you would see it, would show another circle over here between Bina, understanding, and wisdom. They would show another structure here. So I want to tell you right away, according to the Kabbalistic perspective, if you see the Sphero structure that consists of 11 circles, right? Let's say 1 more here. It is not a proper explanation. It is not a proper presentation. And you have to be very careful to not represent the Sphero structure like that, okay? The Sphero can only be 10 circles. It has a very significance, right? The 10 is significant because the world was created with 10 phrases, right? We have the 10 commandments. The number 10 is very relevant to a lot of spiritual connections within this world. So sometimes you would see the Sphero, which is drawn without the Keter. I couldn't find any explanation or any pictures of that. But instead of the Keter, there will be a third circle over here, and it's called Da'at. And this is the interesting understanding of the way that Kabbalistic Sphero work. When I give you the general explanation of the Kabbalistic, of the Sphero structure, I will give you the crown, because the crown is what starts. The crown is what gives source of energy and light to all the bottom Sphero. You see those green lines? These are like, you know, like if you talk about the body, it would be like blood vessels. This is the way that each Sphera gets their energy from the top. The top is the Keter, the top is the crown. It's the source of all the light. It's the actual connection, you know, to God Almighty. And that's what gives you, you know, that's what brings to you, the human being, the major source of all of your energy, okay? Our main point in life, right? And we know pathology would be like people who don't have connection to that source. That's what they have, you know, all those ails, right? Emotional ails where they feel a lack of energy, a lack of source, a lack of goal or, you know, purpose in life, right? That's what it is. For them, the important thing would be to work out their way to reach the Keter, the crown. The crown is our connection. You can actually do it physically, right? You can put your hands on your head. When I do a meditation, and we will be doing meditation every day. Today, just there's no time, but I usually do a meditation before every drawing, where actually I do the meditation according to the Sphero, just so you understand, where we connect to our crown, and then we will connect to the name of God, the Hebrew name of God. That is the ultimate source of energy, okay? So look, we're going to connect. We have the Sphero here, right? Look, the Keter is the top. You can write inside. Keter is the crown. The translation of Keter is crown. I will actually explain to you more what is a crown, why is it a crown, and what it's related to. And then we have all the smaller Sphero, and you can connect them the same way as you see in the picture, right? Like this. You connect them with straight line. We will add the neurographic line to it later, because we all know that the neurographic line is the line of energy, right? It's a lifeline. I refer to it as a lifeline, okay? Okay, do the connections exactly as you see it here, because that's how it's relevant to each other, okay? And I want to tell you that the connection between Sphero within Kabbalistic studies is also archetypal. We will study the major 7 major archetypes within the Bible. Most of you are familiar with those characters. The Abraham, you know, which is the archetype of Chesed. As we learn each Sphera, I will tell you, it's absolutely magnificent to see how we can relate to each archetype within the Bible and connect to their energy, you know, bring their energy, right? Let's say, for example, I'll give you Chesed, which is here, Chesed, right, is connected to the archetype of Abraham. Abraham, which is considered, you know, called the father of all of the nations, right? All 3 religions in the world came from Abraham, the Christianity, the Islam, right? And of course, the Judaism, right? Because Abraham was the father of Ishmael, who is the forefather of Islam, right, of Muslims. And of course, he was the father of Yitzhak, who is the forefather of the Jewish nation, right? And we have also, and then we know from Yitzhak, we have 2 children, Jacob and Aesop. Aesop is the forefather of Christianity. From Aesop, all the Christian nations came. And of course, Jacob is the forefather. Another name for Jacob is Israel. All the, the Israelite nation, the Jewish nation came. So it's interesting to see that Abraham is the forefather, and his Sphera is chesed. Chesed is loving kindness. It's the ultimate kindness, It's a kindness, if I can explain to you, it's the kindness of a mother, as we're all ladies here, of a mother to her newborn baby, right? She just loves him so much. There is no finity, there is no boundary to her love to her child. And we all know that, right? And that's what chesed means, okay? And that's what the character of Abraham is like that. He really loved every single person. He learned to see in each person, he saw the best of that person. And that was a special, that special trait that Abraham had and that he brought to the humankind, right? To the being. Back before him, the world, as it's explained in the Bible, was a very, was a very, what's the word? Very logical, maybe in a way, right? Not logical, but if I give you something, what can you give me back? Like everything was directly related to giving and taking. You cannot give something without taking, which is very important. I'm not bringing down the giving and taking. The balance is extremely important. And you can even see this within the structure of Sphero. Look at the balance, right? Everything goes into something. None of the lines are just for no reason, right? And that's important to note. But what Abraham brought into the world is the idea of chesed. Chesed means kindness. Chesed is what people refer to when people give charity. It's the idea of chesed, the idea of kindness. Taking something that you worked hard for, right? You earned that money and you give it to charity, right? You give the 10th part to charity. You give it to somebody who doesn't have it. You may not know that person. It's not your relative. It's not anybody you know. But yet you do that. You share something that you have with the world. And that's the attribute of God. And this is the reason I just came to the major point of all of the course, the whole course, by the way, right? The major reason is the reason we're studying, and that's important to say that Kabbalistic, all of the Kabbalistic sages always say, emphasize the reason to study Kabbalah, the reason to study the Sphirot is to learn the attributes of God, the creator. And by learning them, we kind of tap into that energy and we become like God in a way, not in a bad way. I want to say here right away, we become, because a human being was created in the image of God. And that's the important part to note, okay? We're created in the image of God, which means we can procreate like God. We can do kindness like God. We want to emulate God. We cannot become God. That's beyond us, right? Do you remember the 4 worlds? Okay, I'm going to stop my sharing for a minute. Do you remember the 4 worlds? Do you remember what we started originally? How God created the planet, the world, right? And this world has something. This world has a piece of God's energy. Remember we talked about infinite light, or Ein Sof, which means infinite light, infinite energy of God, right? The planet where we live, our planet, doesn't have that infinite energy. We will not be able to survive with that infinite energy. Human being, human body can only take a little tiny bit, tiniest possible energy particle of this whole infinity of light, infinity of godliness. And God makes sure that the whole planet is constantly supplied with that tiny piece of energy. Who wants to guess? I think some of you may know the answer. Who wants to understand within this physical understanding, what is that energy that we take upon, we bring unto ourselves every single day, every single hour, every single minute, every single second? What do we do? What is our body used to doing absolutely automatically? But without it, if you think about it, without it, there will be no life, right? You ladies know it, I know it. Air, we breathe. The air contains a little tiny particle of godliness in it. That tiny energy of God is what's considered in air. I don't have it here, but I will prepare for the next session. Even the word air in Hebrew brings that understanding, that it brings in, that world, right? The world that connects to God's energy, God's light. That's what it is, right? Every day, I want to tell you, right? Don't you feel amazing already? Every day you breathe, every little second, every multi-second, we breathe in, we talk, we function, and we have that little tiny godliness. We bring it in and out every single time, and we share it with the world. Okay, so I'm gonna write here, Bina. You can write, by the way, the names. You don't have to. It's really your choice. But what I would suggest we start doing now is, once you drew the whole Sphero structure, let's start bringing the tree within it, okay? I'm going to share with you that picture again, because I want to make sure the Shekhinah, or it's also called Malchut, okay? Okay. Let me share that picture of the tree, because I want to make sure that you will bring it to your picture, bring it to your understanding. Okay, there it is, okay? As you can understand, okay? So bring the structure of the tree through the first, I would say, the bottom circles. Leave the two circles, Bina and Chokmah, and the Keter, the bigger circle. You leave it for the branches, okay? The structure should contain, similar to, remember what we had here with the body? The human body. If any of you can see the human body as a tree, right? This is the structure, right? The top where the head is where the branches will go. So these three Sphirot, Chokhmah, Bina, and Keter, will be by the branches area, right? And the other 7 Sphirot will be the body, the structure of the tree, the branch, okay? The branch, not the branch. You can have a branch, but we'll have a branch, okay? The major part, okay, of the Sphera. And now that I see my picture came out a little loop-sided, right? It's loop-sided to the right side. So that's good, because that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing. The right side, as we all know, is the outer side, the social side. The left side is the inner side, the introverted side of you, right? Who you are on the inside, okay? Let's see, and now we can actually draw the idea of the tree, okay, through the Sphero, okay? You can do the neural lines. Look, I'm doing it now. Like I said, I do that with my students when they learn how to do the NeuroTree. I tell them, take a pencil first and just do the outline of the tree, just do the outline just to help you. Because in the beginning, as you're adding, remember in NeuroTree, we draw the outline of the tree with the neural lines. And the neural lines, we try to take it, there is a lot of philosophical discussion, but one of the major ways that Pavel teaches, Pavel Piskaryov, the founder of Neurographica, the neural line, in a way, it takes you, but you also kind of make sure you lead your neural line in a way where it's, doesn't follow just what's in your head, but you give it a new direction, okay? Within the NeuroTree, without going too much into the philosophical discussion of the neural line, you can just take the neural lines and draw it through your Sphero. Now, what I would like for you to do is to make sure that each one of your Sphero has a neural line going through it. Why? I think you know the answer, because the neural line is a lifeline, as I call it, right? It's a major line that works as a connection to life around us, right? It's not just a picture. It's not just beautiful art. I tell it to all my students that Neurographic is a coaching method. It actually connects you to the reality of life. It allows you to understand and, connect to what you see, what you draw, and how you can take it further, how you can bring it to your life, not just drawing. Pavel says, why, of course you can sit down and draw, but practical people, and we're all practical people around here, right? We don't want to just draw. We don't want to just do something beautiful. We want to do, we want to draw a beautiful picture, and we want it to be practical within our life. So if you want to, I'm going to bring it to you now. You can actually take a goal, okay? and write down a goal in a separate piece of paper. And that will be the goal for your picture, okay? That will be the goal for your picture. Give your picture a goal, give your picture a topic. What are you drawing for today? What's on your mind? What would you like to achieve as you're going through as you're drawing such an amazing topic? You know, you're going through the Sphero, the Kabbalistic world of creation, the structure, and think about it. And as you think about your goal, I'm going to give you a minute to think about it, because I will be explaining to you now the very top Sphera, the very top, part. It's called Keter, or the crown. Okay, and right. Okay, the first Sphera is called Keter, like I said. Keter means crown. Keter is a crown that each one of us wears, right? We all have a crown. We're not always aware of it. And this is my reason for bringing it up to you. I want you to become aware of it. I want you to you can put your hands on top of your head, you know, and build your own Sphera, you know. As you do this, it's important to also bring in your body. The body-oriented therapy is a very important part. It's important, as I said, you know, not just to make it about picture, not just to make it about knowledge, which, as we know, is, you know, the mental world or the emotional world of how excited we are, but also to see how you can connect, right, to your body, to the physical world. Wait, I'm trying to change my camera just to show you something. Oops. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna make it light. Right? This is what you can do. This is the exercise you can do. You can put your hands on top of your head, right? And build, oh, yeah, my camera is mirror-sighted. And build yourself a, yeah, you can't fully see it, but basically build yourself a, my camera is not mirrored, so I'm like, when I lose my, yeah, this is my right hand, but I'm seeing my left hand, yeah. And you can see, you know, build yourself a crown on top of your head. And as you build the crown, you can actually close your eyes and do a little meditation. And you can feel yourself, you know, right away. I feel my body growing, right? Because we know the NeuroTree is a growth algorithm. It's an algorithm for growing. As soon as you put that crown on your head, you right away start growing. You start going further up. You start connecting to that cater, right? To that crown within your own spiritual world, okay? Just a little like connection to the physical, to the meditation. You can do that when you do any meditation. If you do any meditation, you know, any kind of transcendental exercises that you do, you can use that, you know, go through your body. Like I said, within our session, the weekly sessions, as I will be focusing on each Sphera specifically, so it would be a bit more, you know, we'll have more time, because today was an introduction. Wait a minute, I realize I did not take away the background, because today was an introduction. I'm trying to give you the general idea, but every week we will actually be doing the meditation where we connect to each Sphera within our body, as we saw in the picture, right? Each Sphera is connected to the body part, and we will bring in energy within that area. We will actually feel within our body what area within our body, which metaphysically, of course, relates to the area within our emotional world. Where do we stay emotionally? Where do we need help? Where do we need more energy? Where do we need more light, right? As we're connecting to the source of light. And we will start working on it. We'll start bringing it within our world, okay? And so talking about Keter, okay? It's interesting to know that the word Keter, okay, I'm gonna write the word Keter here in Hebrew because it makes a difference, okay? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Keter consists of 3 letters, Kaf, Tav and Tet and Resh, okay? And each letter is relevant. Each letter brings 3 ideas to the world Keter, to the idea, to the Sphero of Keter, which is crown, okay? The first one is, the world is Koach Emunah. Koach means strength, Emunah means faith, okay? The strength of faith. As you learn about the Keter, that you know, remember we said that structure of a crown, you are connecting to 3 parts, okay? Part number 1 is faith. Faith, we all know this. If you believe in something very strongly, you can break barriers. Remember how we talked about the physical world being a world of limitation, right? A world of boundaries. Well, if you believe in something, that mental strength, right? It's much more than the mental strength. It's actually very, very spiritual, right? Faith, believing in something, is extremely spiritual. It's extremely connected to spiritual world. It's connected over here. Okay, just so you know, remember how we did the 4 worlds? Keter is over here. This is the world of Keter, okay? Keter is in the part of the spiritual world, okay? And when somebody wants something, the very first thing that the person goes through, the very first stage, is understanding that they actually have a belief. When you fantasize about something, that's like your mental way, your spiritual way of saying, you know, I actually believe it exists within my world, right? If you talk to kids, to children, children have no idea, no problem talking about things that are completely unrealistic, right? Human being may think about it, right? Like I know adults who are like, I don't know if I want to read Harry Potter. It's like, you know, not very realistic. Like I personally know people who said that. And I was like very surprised because to me, you know, reading something doesn't have to be a realistic, you know, it's not a math book. It's not a physics book, right? But it's a fantasy book, right? It's imagination. So that's what it is. Part of Keter, part of putting on a crown is starting connecting to the idea that if you believe in something, that means that something has a right, and this is important to note, has a right and has a place within your spiritual world, right? Going back to Harry Potter, it was said that in the beginning, when J.K. Rowling, when she wrote that book, she, you know, I think she wrote the book and she had it for a long period of time. There's a whole story, you know, how she read it to her daughter, until once she was talking about it with her daughter, and somebody, she was sitting in a cafe, as far as I know the story, and a guy sitting nearby heard her tell the story, you know, the characters and the plot. And he worked for a publishing company, and he came up to her and said, you know, I'm interested in hearing more of your story, right? But, you know, her just telling the story is just she just thought that this was just a story that she told her daughter, right? She didn't give it much meaning. She didn't fully believe that it can actualize into a printing book, right? If you talk to any author, any people who write stories and books, even artists, right? When we draw pictures, unless you became like, you know, you born either in the family of artists, or like you were very talented and people right away told you how talented you are. A lot of artists have a hard time believing that they can sell their pictures or drawings, you know, to the public, right? And that's important to know, that whenever we get an idea, first thing we do is automatically within our system, that's important to note, right? Because Sphirot is a system within ourselves. It's a part of our spiritual world. Within our system, we have this built in, the faith, the belief that this idea is true. It's an actual idea. It connects us. It came from the above, from the connection with God. And it may even be the idea that God is giving us, right? The idea that, you know, God is bringing to us, to our mind, to our understanding. Okay, so that's the letter K, Koach Emunah, the faith, the strength, the strength of believing in something, okay? The power of belief, so to say. The second world stands for Ta'anug. Ta'anug is a variation of the word oneg. Oneg means ultimate delight, okay? For Jewish people who celebrate Shabbat, right, the Sabbath, what they do is every Sabbath, right? They have a meal, and then there is a little part, which is not so little. The kids love it the most, right? Which is called oneg. Oneg is like just enjoying yourself. People put like some kind of like, party food. They put chips, like comfort food, we call it, right? Chips, popcorn, nuts, candy. That's what I said. The kids love it the most because, they get to have it. But, and that's called oneg. Oneg is like, what does your soul want? But in our case, it's also what our body wants. And that's a connection that we refer to, right? Over here, we strengthen that connection, the connection between soul and the body, okay? It's important to understand the difference between the two, but it's important to understand that we are connected. Our soul is connected to our body. Our body cannot function without our soul, and the same is true the other way around. Our soul will not be able to do anything in this world without the body. Without the body, the soul is just like an angel, right? Angel has no body. Angel is, a celestial being that, has no physical emanation, physical realization within the physical world, within the planet Earth, right? And human beings do. That's why we decided to come here as a human being. We came to this world to do something on a physical level, okay? So we allow ourselves to indulge within the, like eating candy and, chips. I mean, I'm not here, I'm not talking about dieting here, right? That's your personal choice. But what I'm saying is that we learn to respect our body. We learn to respect the desires of the body, okay? And that also is important to remember, part of the spiritual world. Everything is connected within the Kabbalistic world. What we learn to do, you see the neural lines we added? This is what I say. Neurographic is so connected with Kabbalistic ideas. We bring in, the neural line connects us with the spiritual world and going back to the physical world, okay? That's oneg. Oneg means joy, okay? And joy can be two ways. Like one of them I described, like I said, when people enjoy some favorite food, that's oneg. That's joy connected to the physical essence. And then there is joy, that's the ever essence of joy, right? Something in Hebrew, we also call it simcha. That's a major part of my philosophy. I say everything in the world is besimcha. We start everything with joy, with happiness, right? The human being should be happy de facto, right? A lot of people do programs, how to reach happiness, how to become happy, how to become joyous. And my philosophy is you don't get to become joyous, you start with being joyous. And that's the important part. The top Sphero, the way anything starts in this world is with being happy, with being joyous, bringing joy, this idea of simcha, which is, everlasting, this ultimate happiness, you bring it to your world, okay? Becomes a part of your mind. I wake up in the morning, my morning routine is saying, thank you, God, for giving me the life, for bringing my soul back into my body, because when we sleep, the soul goes into other worlds and sees dreams. And my other next step is I say, thank you, God, for bringing everything to me, besimcha, in joy. And you start your day with joy, and it brings you joy. It's we all know that the world around us is shaped within our mind. The way we see the world is what we're gonna is the way we think about the world is what we're gonna see. Okay, so that's in the next word, right? Joy, delight, right? Every time we bond with some idea, an idea came into our mind, we become joyous because we got this amazing, unusual idea. God gave it to us. That's our gift from God. Okay. And then the last letter is ratzon. Ratzon is an important part. Ratzon means desire. Okay. Every time you desire something, you have to understand. And when we talk about desire, we're not talking about lust. Okay. Just important to, because in English, desire may mean the same thing, but it's not like that. Desire means this yearning to do something. And remember how we just talked, I told you get a topic. The topic is your project. What is your project today? What is your goal today, right? My goal for today, those of you, some of you may know, some of you may not know, I'm planning a conference with the Institute for Psychology of Creativity, the Pavel Piskaryov's Institute. We're doing a conference in Neurographica this weekend, right? And I'm helping them plan the English part, right? We're actually, for the very first time, they have these conferences every year, like 3 times a year, actually. The very first time we're bringing the part of the conference to the English-speaking audience. And that's a huge deal, right? That's something new and exciting and unusual, right? And that's my goal. But you know where it originated? I want to tell you something. I started thinking about it like maybe a few months ago. I started thinking, I talked to my partner. I said, we should have a conference of all the English-speaking specialists, because we don't have many instructors yet. Most of them are the ones who learned, in Russia, and not all of them are comfortable teaching in English. Some of them you will see, as I said, this weekend. But I told to my partner, why don't we take all the specialists and give them a conference? Let them show to the world what they can offer. They can draw their own pictures, they can bring people in. And we started discussing it, right? And that was my ratzon, that was my desire, that little tiny seed that I brought. First, it came into my mind, but what happened next? I didn't just brush it away. I didn't say, yeah, whatever. I actually brought it into the world. I allowed it to come into the world. I spoke with somebody, right? We know words are very important within the physical realm. And then, I even started like thinking and planning, like, what are we doing? And then, I get this call, let's do part of the conference in English. Do you want to lead it? And I said, yes, of course. Are you kidding me? Of course I do. This was what I want to do, right? I want to bring the awareness of Neurographica to the English-speaking public. So that's Ratzon. Ratzon is that desire that pops into your head, that idea, and you choose whether you want to continue with that idea, bring it to your fantasy and imagination, which are the next step, right? Which are like further the Chokhmah and the Bina, but the very first step is always the Keter. And the reason why it's bigger than all the others is because Keter is the bigger, because Keter is a part of, some people say, some Kabbalistic sages actually say that, and I want to add that here, okay? There's not a lot of space, but I will add one more. Some Kabbalistic sages say, we actually have 5 worlds. The 5th world is so high up, is so much into the, the higher spiritual realms, that we human beings have no understanding. There's no logical explanation. I cannot fully logically explain to you what this world is. I just can tell you that this world is even higher than the spiritual world, okay? And it's called Adam Kadmon, right? It's a huge atom. The translation would be huge atom. What is the reference here? It says here, one of the explanations the sages give to the creation of the human being in the Bible, they say that it wasn't just a regular human being as we know it now. It was a huge, humongous giant, humongous giant. The Adam, that original creation of of God, was so big that he would literally stand between the earth and the heavens. That's how huge it was, right? And then they say when there's a lot of like different explanation, but one of the explanation is that when Adam ate from the tree of good and evil, right, the tree of knowledge, and remember the story how he was expelled from the Garden of Eden, they say that wasn't the huge atom already. That was actually part of the atom, right? Because part of the atom's soul kind of stayed back within the Garden of Eden. That's why for us humans, like philosophically, we always yearn to go into this philosophical idea of the Garden of Eden, right? This amazing garden where everything is like, everything comes true right away, right? We want something, we get it, right? And the idea is because we all of us humans have a piece of our soul within that garden, right? And we strive to go back there because that's the place where we connected to God the most, right? Where we can connect to God, where we are the closest to God, because our goal is to always be connected to God, right? That's why we strive to constantly, remember what I said? That's why we will constantly strive to go from our physical world, we go up to the emotional, to the mental, and we're really trying to get here, the spiritual world, right? And even go beyond. So Keter, going back, the Keter Sephirah is right here. It's on the verge between the 4th world, the spiritual world, and the super spiritual world, the fifth world, which we cannot fully even see, okay? We cannot fully understand. But that's as the Sphera is. It's that main source. It's bigger than the other Sphirot because it is the source for all the Sphirot. All the light and energy goes by this, by this lines that we did the connection. You can actually take the marker and go with the neural line and connect the Keter to all of the Sphirot, okay? You can do that. You can connect it to each one of the Sphirot and do the neural line. The neural line will give it the energy that you're looking for, right? We know that neural line is energy, right? And you can go. Remember how we did the structure? There are different ways to connect to the Sphirot to each other, okay? And it's significant. The better, the more you connect, the more it will, give you the necessary energy that you're looking. As we go through each Sphera, each week, we will actually focus on what that Sphera will bring. You will start understanding when it comes to your project, right? Which do you need? Like, what energy do you need at this specific point, right? Which energy would you need in the future? You can start planning. That's what it is, right? It's like making a business plan, so to say, for your project, right? Start understanding, start seeing the world through the prism of this ever-essent idea of the Sphirot, structure of the Sphirot, the way the world is. And a lot of sages say that even if you don't have, let's say, a business plan, even if you don't want to see it as a project, as you start, and some people do that, they study the study of Sphira just for the sake of its study, because it makes them feel, and remember that connection in the Keter, makes them feel good. It gives them that ultimate pleasure, the ultimate joy that the soul experiences, because it connects to the sacred. It connects to the, it takes you right away, boom, within the spiritual world. It connects you to that energy, the infinite energy of light. And if we look at it this way, remember how we see, by the way, the Sphirot section, the Sphirot structure goes like this, okay? And this is the world, okay? This is the first world, the second world, the third world, the fourth world. Remember how I said the fifth world is partially, it's actually out there, beyond our world. So every time we go through the Sphirot, we are building and we're reaching the higher realm. We're trying to reach over here outside our, right, outside our planet, which is where we have the infinite light, right? The light that is completely infinite, or Ein Sof, the infinite energy of God that we can tap in, right? But we have to be very careful when we do this, right? That's why we're going to study this little by little. It's very important not to try to jump in, because we need to learn to respect the physical world, right? Remember we said the physical world has limitations. The human body has limitation. The human heart has limitation. If your heart has too much excitement, right? We know that can be, we want to make sure we're healthy. So that's why I broke it down into studying one every single week, okay? Plus also time-wise, when I explain to you, in 1 month, we have the Passover, the holiday of Passover, which, as we look at it transcendently, is a time of spring, the time of renewal, right? When the nature gets renewed, and we talk about the nature, of course, we also mean the human body, right? The human soul, the human idea, mental state, right? We all get renewed, right? That's why everybody, all the nations have such thing as spring cleaning, right? We get rid of old stuff we don't want, and we, start bringing in a different understanding of how we see the world. And it's customary for Jews, between the holiday of Passover, when the Passover starts, right away the second day, they start learning the 7 Sphirot. The 7 Sphirot are the Sphirot that are on the, in the physical realm, which is, Chesed, Gvura. This is Gvura, actually. I'm going to say it's Gvura. Okay, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Od, Yesod, and then we have Malchut. Okay, like I said, we will go into each one every week. And the reason why Jewish people study it between Passover and the next holiday, which is 7 weeks later, 49 days exactly, is a holiday of Shavuot. Shavuot is when the world received the Torah. The Torah is a Jewish Bible, the 10 Commandments, we talked about it, right? This is when the world has received like the blueprint of how to live the world, right? We all know this now as morals, understanding, the judicial system. But originally, with the world, people knew some things intuitively, but they didn't have anything in writing, so to say. Nowadays, we have everything in writing, right? We have the Bible, for the Jewish people, we have the Bible for the non-Jewish people, and everybody have their own structure they follow, and that's important to note. And as we get from the renewal time to the structure time, we actually learn the 7 structures, okay? And that's the significance why I decided to initiate this project right now, because even timely goes, right? Even according to the calendar, it's the right time to study. So first we're going to study, let me see. First we're going to, what is it? Here. First we're going to study the first three Sphirot. Remember we missed one Sphira in the middle. I said we don't draw it. But as we study each Sphira one by one, we will study the third Sphirot, and it will be wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. That will be for the next 3 weeks. And then we will start studying each single Sphira that is related to the physical world. The first 3 Sphirot, as you can see it here, is in the, the first 3 Sphirot is in the mental world, right? As we start understanding, approaching what are Sphirot and how do we see them, okay? Now, let's go back to our picture. Let's go back to our picture. I want to finish drawing the Sphirot. Okay, so pay attention now to your tree, right? I am seeing that I don't have enough branches on top, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna add some more branches to my top because I want my top to have more branches, right? To bring in more fruit, right? Because that's connected. And that already, what we're doing now is studying the structure of the NeuroTree, the idea of the NeuroTree, the algorithm, right? And that's already, I'm talking about the NeuroTree course. I actually timed both of them in a way where if one wants to take, you can take one right after another, where we can, it depends what your, goal is. You can take both courses. Like I said, with the NeuroTree, I will also be giving you ladies, so for those who are interested in the teaching component, and for those who have the right to teach, the specialist, or if you have the instructors, of course, also, and it's interesting to note that the idea of the NeuroTree is important because we want to make sure that we're going to bring the resources. Remember we talked about the topic? Think about your topic and start understanding what are the resources, what are the goals you want to see within your topic, within your quest, right? I often call it the quest because when you start your journey, it's more like a quest. And start understanding what are the resources, and here we will utilize the roots. Within the tree of life, the roots are not so much specified, but we, as in the idea of the NeuroTree, will bring in the idea of the roots, okay? What I usually also do, I'll give you a little life hack here. I add some lines. You can use your ultrafine marker. I add the lines with each other because the more connection each neural line has with another, the better that, that goal will be realized, because the more neural lines you have, that's a general idea in Neurographica, one of the 10 principles. The more neural lines you have, the more the more neurons you create, so to say, right? The more connections. And also think about it as a pathway, right? Let's say you have to go from home to work every single day, right? We're not talking about pandemic time, regular time, right? And you say, okay, right? You get a new job and you think, okay, I'm going to get a new job. How do I get there? And you think of the ways you get there. If you only have one way to get there, let's say a bus or a train, right? Then that's very limiting, right? Sometimes buses and trains don't run or something happens, and then you're stuck. You won't be able to get to your job. So you always have to think, what are other ways? Is there a way to get to my job by a car? Is there a way to get to my job by like express bus? Is there like maybe somebody who can drive me there, right? You think of different ways, and the same thing with neural lines, right? The more neural lines you create, the more pathways you create for your goal to be realized, right? The more you kind of give yourself ways, like actual pathways for the resources to come into your life to help you get to your goal. So that's, you know, Neurographic talk already. So that's something to keep in mind, okay? Within your Neurographic drawing, okay? You see, as I connected the roots, do you see how what happens here? Remember how each line was separate? As I connected, look what happens. We have more cohesiveness here, right? We have more connection. And that's the interesting part, right? If you take the system of Sphero, right, and you don't connect them with each other, right, it's just a bunch of circles, right? And that's, by the way, historically how it happened, Kabbalistically. First, God created the world and just put in circles in there, just plain circles, right? Yeah, the first time the God put in circles, it was just each Sphero separate. Each one is separate, okay? Also 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But they were separate. And they didn't connect with each other. Because even in Neurographica, we know that, right? If an element is separate without any neural line and it's not a part of the composition, we'll learn this in the neurocomposition course, right? Then it's just a separate entity. It's just separate ego, right? People are not connected with each other. They're next to each other, but they don't see each other. So the next time God created the next, right, entity, God decided that take the Sphirot and just connect them all to each other like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they were connected together. But that became a problem too, because wherever one Sphira would go, all of the others would follow, right? And it became just a big blob. And they couldn't do much because, you know, and that's how human beings work, right? We don't want to be apart from each other, but we don't want to be too interconnected either, by the way. This is the mental world, right? We don't want to be too apart. We don't want our ego to start thinking that, you know, I'm better than the others, right? We connect to others, right? Some things we know better, something other people know better. And on the emotional world, remember we talked about it? I brought it up. You need to have boundaries. Even with your family, right? Even with your kids, even with your husband, you need to have your boundaries. You need to have time where you are who you are, where you can connect and say, this is where I am, and this is my spiritual world. In order to understand where you're going in life, you have to go back to your spiritual world and kind of look at things like from a bird's view, right? And say, where am I to my ultimate purpose, ultimate goal in life? Let's say not everybody know their ultimate, but more or less people have an idea of what they want to do, where they're going, right? Nowadays, especially, right? Nowadays at this age, more and more people start realizing, what is your purpose in life? What is my purpose in life? You know? And in Neurographic, we see it more and more. I have people coming from all kinds of background, right? I have people who come from financial like sphere, right? They work in huge financial companies. I have people who come from like, you know, I was a special ed teacher, right? Educational component, completely different, right? I have a friend who is a nail artist, right? She does nails. She loves Neurographic. She does nails and Neurographic on nails, which is amazing by itself. But, you know, we have artists, which you may think is related to Neurographic, right? But not fully, because Neurographic is art, but it's actually a structure. And that's what we teach in the basics course, a structure in Neurographica, just like Sphirot, we need a structure, right? Just like what happened here. It cannot be just separate circles, and it cannot just be all connected together. We need a structure. And that was the second part. And then the third one, God created the Sphirot, as we know now, right? What we just drew, right? This one, right? 3 here, 3 here. There is a structure here already. And you know, sages say, people may ask, why didn't God just create this right away, right? And the answer to that would be, of course, is very philosophical. God wants us, the reason we know about the story, why God created different types of Sphirot and how the two were not successful, and the Kabbalistic idea of vessel and the light comes from here, because they were not successful. The ones that were separate from the beginning, they started colliding with each other, and as a result, the vessels broke. and the light fell all around without any vessels, right? That's dangerous, right? And over here, the 10 Sphirot connected to each other. At one point, they felt very, they felt very uncomfortable being so close with each other. They wanted their own freedom, and they broke apart from each other. And that also broke the whole system. And it also broke the vessels, and the lights are all over the world, right? And that's why we study about the Sphirot. Everybody should study about the Sphirot, the sages say, because everybody will find their light, will find their light lying somewhere in the world, in the universe, okay? And that's why we create, it's important to understand that within this world, the physical world, we need the structure, right? Remember how he said, this is the mental world, right? And we have to be very careful not to have this in the mental world, not to feel like, that we're superior to others mentally, even if we do know more than others in one area of life, only one, remember that. And the same thing with emotional. As much as we love other people, it's important to have a boundary. You love somebody to a certain exchange, and you need to love yourself, You have to always learn the balance between loving yourself and loving others. And how do you combine both? And then within the physical world, the structure is very important. Remember we said like math, Sipor as math, right? Mispar, which means numbers. It's very important, structure. Structure your life, We all know it works, right? We all know that if we have a schedule, we work better, we achieve more in life, right? If I wake up in the morning, like with me, right, I try to make exercise a daily regime of my life, I function better, my body works better, I'm less tired, I have more energy, right? And that's what it is, right? The system of Sphirot is very important. Okay, going back to this tree, we have 10 more minutes. I suggest you do the same thing. You see what I did in the bottom? Connected all my tree branches, my roots, like they were separate. I connect them together, right? You can use a thin marker. You can do the same thing on top, right? As you connect them, you're going to see like you create more, more branches. Let's call it as it is, right? Branches are important within the tree structure, right? The more branches, the more, what is it? Remember the biology class, right? What is it? Photosynthesis, right? The formation of the, I forgot, what is that word? The green stuff that the tree creates. That's important for it. It's like oxygen, right? That they're air. What is it?
Chlorophyll.
Thank you very much. Chlorophyll. There you go.
Yeah,
It was in my mind. And so that's what it is, right? The trees also need branches, just like people do, right? Branches is also our connection to the world, our social connection, right? That's what I'm going to do in the NeuroTree. I will give you all the deep understanding. Some of you may know it within the specialist course. Some of you, I don't know if you did, because when I do this in the specialist course, I actually teach a lot of my own findings that I find on the tree. By the way, some of it is Kabbalistically based, the Kabbalistic notion of the tree as a human being, the tree, and we refer to that too, right? The tree is as a human being, right? It's the body, the bottom is the feet, this is the body, and the top is two hands up, right? Growing. The tree is the growth process. We need to grow. The human being is a growing entity, okay? The human being comes to this world and constantly wants to grow. First, it grows physically and, of course, emotionally and mentally as well. As children learn, as children engage in different kind of knowledge and experiences, right? Sensory experiences are very important for human learning. As adults, we don't remember so much about sensory exploration, right? And that's where Neurographica comes, right? It's amazing when it comes to the 5 senses. It utilizes 4 of the 5 senses, right? We bring in sight here. We bring in the nose. We breathe in when we do the awareness practice, when we do breathing in and out. We bring in what? The touch, of course, the hands drawing. Isn't that the most amazing? We bring in ears, right? Whether you're listening to me or you're listening to somebody else or you're talking to yourself when you draw. And of course, we'll bring in the mouth when we do, again, the breathing in and as we do the talking and the awareness, okay? That's important. You can actually take your keter and actually give it if you want to bring in the idea of, remember the shape, the triangle shape. The triangle is the shape of reaching your goal, growing, right? Bringing energy. You can give your keters, can you see it? I did it. Your keter circle crown, because it is a crown, right? Give yourself a structure of a crown. The crown is what starts it all, right? The king, the idea of the king is the leader of the nation, right? The leader leads the nation, right? And that's what the crown is. Your crown, your idea, right? And you decide whether you want that idea to actualize and you make it a part of your project, or do you want that idea to, you know, maybe you say, you know, I don't want that idea, but I want something else. And sometimes that happens too, right? If you have a client who comes to draw and they work on a certain idea, and then they say, no, I realize that's not what I want, but I want a different aspect, right? And they go there. That's important to note. That's wonderful, okay? The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna finish up. We have 5 more minutes, but I wanna start bringing in the coloring, so you ladies will take that upon. Of course, resources, okay? Think about your topic and think, what are the resources that you're looking for, right? Say my topic was the planning of the conference, make sure that the conference comes out successfully, right? This weekend. So my topic will, of course, be, you know, what are the resources, right? And on the bottom, oh, look at this. I have a part of the circle peeking out. So of course I'm going to take it and complete it. Part of my resource, this resource will be, I wonder if I know what this resource is. I would say probably the resource of knowledge, right? The resource of, well, maybe the resource of excitement, right? So on the bottom of the NeuroTree, you usually put the resources that you already possess, okay? Could be the resource of knowledge, the resource of excitement, right? It could be the resource of, remember I said I had that idea that I wanted to do the conference. That's a resource, right? That was my desire that kind of brought the, you know, like that law of attraction kind of thing, right? As I started thinking about it, it attracted this idea, that whole happening to me. And it's not just about me, you know, it's about if you're ready, right? They could have chosen somebody else to do it, and that's fine too. But I kind of expressed to the universe my desire to carry on this project. And that's the significance, right? Your readiness to take upon the project and the way you express it to the universe, to the world, right? The way you express yourself and you say, I am ready, I want to do this, okay? So, what other resources do you have, okay? Then start thinking about your resources, okay? Your resource can be your family, you know, support of your family, right? The family supports you in this project, right? That's an important resource, okay? I'm giving you very general ones, you know, you can use them. You may have your own personal ones, okay? And on top, you bring in the resources that you are looking for, resources that are more like goals, okay? What are the sub goals of what you're looking for, right? So in my case, it would be, of course, wonderful speakers, right? In my case, it would be make sure that technology, right? We all know about technology. I want to make sure the technology will work well, you know, internet will be working well, and there will be no last minute hangups, you know? That's my, right? And I want to bring in that goal on my paper because I really wanted to realize, okay? And I'm going to bring it here. I'm going to bring a resource of, like I said, technology working, and a resource of speakers, everything going well with the speakers doing their presentation, okay? And again, don't forget to go and round out all of the intersections, okay? You can bring in more. Of course, I'm doing 2 just to give you an example, just so we can do some within the realm of our timely limit, right? I work very hard to remember that we have a time limit because we live in the physical world where we have limitations. It's something I work on because I can go on for 3-4 hours, but you know, it wouldn't be right to you. We're expected to come here for 2 hours. And in the middle part, in the branch, what you can do is you can put the resources that are a part of your realistic life as we speak right now, right? What do you possess right now? What are you in? And I started thinking, I possess right now, I actually have some time that I'm going to work on. I have the knowledge, the practice of Neurographica, right? And that's what you do. You can put in some resources over here, and they can be as fruits, let's say. They can be, you can actually put in, you know, like a little basket, right? And you can collect the fruits in the basket, right? You can put the resource of time, that I would like to have the resource of connection to other people, right? As I socialize with other people and organize everything, I want to make sure I have right social skills, conversational skills. It's important, right? Leadership skills, like where I can help people understand what they need to do in order to be successful within their presentation, okay? That's important, right? And that's what you start realizing. You can put more, of course. Either way, you can put more resources even if you don't have a name for it. You just go ahead and put it in. Don't worry. The universe, God, will find a name for it. It will be a resource for you one way or another. Even if your mind, remember we talked about the mind, as much as it thinks it knows everything, it still has boundaries. It still has limits, right? The mind doesn't have to kind of logically explain everything. Just give yourself some resources. Trust me, they're always good for you, right? And that's what it is. Put in more resources as you want. Start adding color. You can start coloring by either bringing out the resources, right? Or by coloring the branches, the lines within the branches. You can actually start, like I'm gonna do this, right? I'm gonna give the color to all. I'm gonna actually make it green because we're doing the beginning, right? I'm gonna give color, let's say, bring out the Spheroid, right? Remember, because this is a Sphero tree. Bring out all the Spheroid structure within your NeuroTree, right? There you go. Voila. Beautiful, isn't it? Once you bring it out, it kind of makes sense to you, right? I used one color to bring out all the Sphero, just to see, just to bring it out within my tree, okay? Everything else I will make different colors, but this I wanted to make green because what we're doing now is green, the beginning. We actually, yesterday I started the Neura color course, and that's what we learned there, right? We brought in a different structure, the philosophy of Wuxin, right? The 5 elements. And over there we learned that one of the colors, the major color of beginning, green. The major color of renewal is green, right? What's happening now? We started spring, right? This tree are gonna grow. What about the sides of the tree? Yeah, the side of the tree, you can add, like I said, this is a structure of your tree. Like I said, you can add, I don't know if you asked me before or after I added the fruits, the resources are from your realistic present now. This is the future, this is the past, and this is the present, okay? Add something to your background. You can add the sun going up, you can add some trees, you can add some flowers, right? Make sure your NeuroTree doesn't just stay in the white background because it's not a realistic NeuroTree, right? The tree grows in some kind of background. What is your background? What do you want to give to your topic, okay? Color your resources, of course, and then color your tree, right? We have so many, you can see for more examples, we have so many. I actually have a number of tree videos on my YouTube. And by the way, I will not be repeating any of the NeuroTrees that I did before, which you can find on my YouTube already. I created new NeuroTrees, okay? These are the algorithms that I thought of carefully and I came up with, and I thought this would be a great addition to anybody's life. No, you can take it for yourself. You don't have to think that, oh, what if I don't want to teach it? Just learn for yourself, right? Just like the study of Spheroid is good for your soul, the same thing with Neurographica. That's the beauty of it, right? Most of the people who learn it, they don't learn it to teach others. They learn it for themselves. They want to improve themselves, right? Their understanding of the world, their joy, right? And then, of course, color the branches, the interweaving, the neural lines within the tree. Use your creativity. You can make it any color you want, any combination. At this point, you're in your creative part. We're finished with the structure. You brought in the structure. Now fill in with the color. Color is your emotions, is your creativity. How do you see your tree, okay? And I'm inviting all of you to share your tree within the World of Neurographica group. You can do some of your in Orwell Manot group. You're welcome to share all of your trees. I would love to see them. I think it's amazing to let other people see your trees and also get inspired. That's what it's all about, right? Building a community of neurographic artists, and we get inspired with each other, okay? Any questions? I'm gonna change any questions about the picture before I change my camera? Do I need to show you anything, explain anything? Good, you kind of, I think more or less everybody get the idea of what we're doing. I'm gonna transfer my camera. Okay, here I am. I need to make it lighter, make it darker so you guys can see my paper. And any questions you have for me, any sharing you want to do, how did you feel? What did you feel about today's class? I know it's a lot, but if you watch it, it's going to be an open video on my YouTube and Facebook group. It's live. You can watch it again and kind of sink in a little more as you understand each part of what I taught and, take it in. If you want to share your picture, you're welcome to. We love those parts, but do share with me your impression of today's session. How did you find it? How do you feel? Yay.
I totally loved it.
So beautiful.
Yeah,
So
can
look at your beautiful tree. Yeah.
I mean, I just started with the coloring, so there's still a lot to do. But that was really very lovely and interesting.
Look at the structure, and that's the major part, right? That's the difference between regular NeuroTree and the Sphero. It gives your tree structure, and that's a beauty. Beautiful. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. Excellent. Yeah.
And it was really a lot of knowledge. I really love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, probably. I try.
I also like it. Thank you. Just share my.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. I love the crown and yours. Bring it up a bit. I want to see the bottom. It's so interesting. So beautiful. Yay. And your beautiful bottom resources. I love the colors. The color play is very beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. A new understanding of the past.
Yes, I also feel that I had so much knowledge and also emotions together. So it has to be to get down. It was really fascinating.
I'm glad everybody enjoyed this new take on the NeuroTree, right? This new understanding. And that's what we're going to do with the NeuroTree every week, actually. We're going to learn something new, a new way to see the same algorithm, but in a new, you bring it out to fit your topic. That's why it's great for people, let's say, for yourself, right? Let's say at one point you have a financial goal and you're going to know how to draw the NeuroTree when it work toward your financial goal. If you work with a client, that's going to work great too, because you will lead that client. Because I find, like I tell all my specialist students, start with a NeuroTree. It's the easiest algorithm to draw. You really don't need much, to know how to do it, just neural lines and them circles. People relate to it. But you will take your client where it needs to go, whether it's financial, whether it's building a family, whether it's going to be like one is going to be health, right? Losing weight, or just having a healthy lifestyle. What should you specify? Where do you focus on? That's what I'm going to bring in, like deeper knowledge. Okay. What else? The pyramid, I'm going to bring the pyramid of development. That's Pavel's creation. And if it's Pavel's creation, it's going to be very philosophical and very realistic, like very structured and very good. Okay, that I will bring it in. So yeah, basically, I think we're done. Thank you all for joining me. I really, truly enjoyed your presence and your, I'm going to call it as it is, your energy, right? As we're here in the exchange of energy. I appreciate it. I enjoy it. And thank you to everybody who joined me on Facebook, online. I truly enjoyed. I know most of you will probably be watching me later on. A lot of times people are busy, but I'm so glad to have you here. I'm glad to see you. And join me. Any questions you have about the course, let me know. I will put the links if you want to register to under the videos, and you're welcome to PM me for any questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day for you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.